Let's talk about Kadarius Toney's knee injury more than likely being worse than expected. Chris Jones reportedly wanting $30 million a year. Rashee Rice continuing to show a great connection with Mahomes early on at camp, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? First up, day 2 of training camp started off indoors due to inclement weather, and you can see this photo shared by Rick Burkholder, the team's head athletic trainer with a much longer title than that showed some players out there an hour before practice voluntarily and self-initiated, and Rick shared this to encourage high school and college athletes to take care of their bodies, which hopefully leads them to success. And I'm not gonna lie, with camp injuries already starting to happen, it's definitely a good reminder. For example, Lions newly acquired defensive back CJ Gardner-Johnson suffered a non-contact knee injury today at practice and had to get carted off, and he was seen visibly upset as he left the field on the cart, and an MRI later revealed it is hopefully nothing serious, but it's still one of those scary things. And I definitely wish the guy the best because camp injuries freaking suck. Anyway, another person who could be seen visibly upset for the best reason possible though was Julie Freimeyer, the team's assistant athletic trainer who worked on Mahomes' ankle, as well as other teammates leading up to the Super Bowl, and you could see her here getting emotional after that Super Bowl victory because the trainers here in KC really do work hard. And the reason why I'm even talking about this is because someone dealing with an injury himself is wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who wasn't seen out there at practice today after leaving warm-ups yesterday. He actually retweeted this video of Julie getting emotional, saying, "I trust her with my life," which is some encouraging words for Julie, certainly. But of course, it then made me wonder more about Kadarius Toney's knee and what's going on there with him. Well, last night he responded to a tweet from the Kingdom, who initially reacted to Toney's announcement tweet of him being injured by saying, "This hurts," to which Toney actually said, "On God," which means, "You ain't lying, my knee does hurt," which seems to mean there's something more than a knee tweet going on with him. And Travis Kelce unofficially basically confirmed during his presser today.
I mean, just electric, man. He's just a high energy guy. When he gets the ball, he's flying around. He's a hard worker. We're going to miss KT's just, his ability to make a play out of nowhere. He was that piece for us in the Super Bowl. He was that piece for us throughout the season last year. And just getting that thing right, we got all the confidence in the world in our training staff here to get him ready either by season or early on in the season. Got our fingers crossed that we get him back as soon as possible, and it's just letting him heal up and we'll take care of the load until he gets back.
He said to get KT ready by season or early on in the season, which revealed something bigger going on with Kadarius Toney, and that was officially confirmed today after Kelce's presser by Adam Schefter, who tweeted out saying, "Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who underwent an off-season cleanup procedure on his knee, aggravated the injury Sunday while fielding a punt and is expected to miss some time during training camp, but will be ready for the start of the season," per league source. And unless I'm mistaken, I think that's the first I've heard about Kadarius Toney having an off-season cleanup procedure on his knee. And if that's true, the Chiefs did a freaking good job of keeping that one under the radar, because I had no idea he was working out at OTAs, seemingly not skipping a beat. So good job. However, Toney tweeted out after this announcement by Schefter saying that the report is slightly wrong, but quote, "I'll definitely be back soon. Love you, Chiefs Kingdom." And I have no idea which part of that report he's saying is wrong. Maybe it's not a re-aggravation of the cleanup, or maybe it's time that he's going to have to reportedly spend injured. Regardless, Andy Reid speaks tomorrow to the media, so hopefully we get some clarity from him then. And then the next situation everybody has their eyes on is Chris Jones and his holdout during this contract extension negotiation period. This morning, he actually tweeted out, "Wakey, wakey." And I'm over here like, how about walkie into training camp? It's an interesting situation right now, to say the least. And remember, Andy Reid said yesterday he was actually a bit surprised Chris Jones didn't show up to camp, and even mentioned that communication was good with him until very recently. And now it's being reported that Chris Jones and the Chiefs are at a stalemate for now, as Jones seeks an extension that would pay him an average annual salary of $30 million. Which I'm sure the Chiefs would like to pay less than that, but Aaron Donald is no longer the best defensive tackle in the NFL. It's Chris Jones, and he wants to be paid accordingly. And I've seen some replies from yesterday's video saying, "Trade him then, just like the Chiefs traded Tyreek." Well, Nate Taylor of The Athletic makes a good point here about this. He says, unlike Hill on offense, everyone in the Chiefs organization understands that Jones is the team's best defensive player. Meanwhile, when they traded away Tyreek Hill, they arguably traded away their third best offensive player behind behind Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Hill was valuable, yes, but not nearly as valuable to the team as Chris Jones, and that's why I ultimately do think a deal will get done. Hopefully it's just sooner rather than later. Anyway, back to practice, which was eventually moved back outdoors once the weather cleared up, and the only players who didn't practice today were Kadarius Toney, we've already talked about him, and defensive tackle Turk Wharton. And the good news with this report is that offensive tackle Wanya Morris, who didn't practice Sunday, yesterday, was indeed out there today, Monday. And as far as practice standouts go, Pete Sweeney noted that running back Deneric Prince just never drops a pass, recording a touchdown pass from Mahomes, which is more good news around the UDFA running back himself. And to follow up on that, the Chiefs shared this clip of Prince making a great grab on the run for a TD from Mahomes, quite possibly the same play that Sweeney noted. And cornerback Trent McDuffie said he's out here playing with a chip on his shoulder and making everybody better because of it.
Especially a guy like Deneric Prince, so he got that chip on his shoulder. And that's something like you saw Pop last year, came in this kind of just like, they didn't give me a shot, but I'm gonna go make one for myself. And for me, looking at it, I love that kind of thing, because it's like you got somebody over there who's really trying to grind each day, and that's only gonna make everybody else better.
Well, I do like to hear that about Prince. And on the subject of Trent McDuffie, he wasn't out there working in 7-on-7s, but was out there for 11s. And that's because he dealt with a calf injury during OTAs, and both him and Snead are in a ramp-up period with their overall snap counts. Trent said only being able to watch during OTAs was tough for him, but he was glad to be available and around to see the guys putting in work. And one thing the DB room is focusing on this season is an intentional effort on takeaways, which is something they believe they can do a better job of accumulating more of, especially himself. He dropped a few last year and wants to make up for it this year. And as soon as he said that, I immediately thought of the game where McDuffie dropped an easy pick from Stidham against the Raiders, and Juan Thornhill told him,
"You did not want it! You didn't want it!"
You did not want it. McDuffie also complimented Nazeeh Johnson, who had a couple of nice pass breakups today, including this one against Justyn Ross himself, denying him a hard-fought for ball. Trent also gave props to rookie corner Nick Jones, who has, quote, taken everything on the chin and is out there working. And regarding his own personal goals for this upcoming season, McDuffie is not concerned about that. He just wants to be available and ready to help the team in any way that he's able, no matter the position that Spags needs him to play in the secondary. And while he may not have specific goals for this season, he does have a personal goal for this training camp, and that's to get the better of Patrick Mahomes.
Past 2 days, Pat's thrown 2 perfect balls, and I'm like, dang, man, like, I'm there. Like, one of these days I'm gonna get you, but no matter what happens, these receivers keep putting their head down and keep working, and that's something that you got to respect.
Well, I think Mahomes versus McDuffie is the training camp rivalry we all want to see. And yes, you saw that right. Mahomes threw an absolutely perfect pass to Rashee Rice today. I mean, the coverage by McDuffie was so good that even Snead celebrated, thinking that it was going to be a broken up pass, but no. Rice ran a rather impressive route there, with the pass being an absolute dime. And it's worth noting that both of those plays McDuffie mentioned were actually against Rashee Rice, the one from today and also yesterday. So if that doesn't get you even a little excited about the rookie wide receiver, I don't know what will. Another receiver everyone's keeping their pupils on is, of course, Justyn Ross, who caught a long, wide open touchdown from Gabbert today and could be seen in warm-ups getting some work done as well. Next up, after struggling with some drops earlier yesterday, tight end Noah Gray caught a touchdown for himself from Mahomes, and the tight end room is definitely one to watch, with Travis Kelce saying there's a lot of talent in that room.
Listen, the tight end room is so stacked right now. Getting everybody reps to be able to showcase their talents is kind of where we're at. A lot of the coaches know what I can do and kind of know my skill set, but I still want to get as many reps as I possibly can, so there's no pulling back at all.
However, as Kelce enters year 11 in the NFL, he's still prioritizing his recovery and taking care of his body. Just remember, on his podcast a few months ago, he said last season was the hardest on his body so far of any year of his career, and I imagine the Chiefs are well aware of that fact, as he's 34 years old now and will begin planning accordingly to prioritize Kelce's health and overall workload. And even after all these years, Kelce said he loves coming to training camp, is a big fan of the fundamentals, and enjoys the entire process from camp to preseason games. Kelce also seems impressed with the young tight ends and receivers on the roster, saying they are getting after it and are ready to go right now.
These guys are ready right now, and you see them flying out there. Rashee had a bunch of great plays today. Noah Gray had a great day today. Skyy Moore had about 3 or 4 touchdowns and some great plays. So in terms of the young talent we have here, it's just, guys are ready to play because they're putting their nose to the grind and just getting after it, man.
And speaking of Skyy Moore, he said he feels 30 times more comfortable in the Chiefs offense right now than compared to last year. He understands the playbook way better and is ready for the task of being relied on more this upcoming season.
Yeah, it kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm not worried about what route I run anymore. It's about how I'm going to get open and what I'm going to do to the DB versus my job.
And although he's still figuring out his exact role in the offense, he will have a better idea of expectations for him this season by the end of camp. Skyy also pointed out that his favorite wide receiver at the moment on the team is Richie James.
I love Richie. Richie's my favorite receiver right now. I like how he moves. Like, he does the stuff that I think I'm doing what he's doing, but he kind of does it a little different.
So there you go. More Rick James hype. And lastly, even though Skyy had like 3 muffed punts last season, he started to turn things around near the end of the season in some limited opportunities he was given, basically because everybody else was injured and they had no other choice. And while he doesn't know yet who's going to be the team's punt returner, he said he's not going to stop working on it and getting better. Next up, defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo is one who thinks the defense isn't going to stop improving either, agreeing with Nick Bolton's assessment from yesterday that the Chiefs defense has the potential to be in the top 10. And while he's not going to worry about the stat from week to week, that is the ultimate goal. It's to have them there by the end of the year from an efficiency standpoint. Spags didn't talk about Chris Jones, but did say that Charles Omenihu is a passionate football player who's, quote, very into it. He made a great play today and was fired up for himself, but was just as fired up for others when they made a nice play also. Quote, he's been a really good addition up until this point. And another free agent that Spags mentioned was linebacker Drew Tranquill, and he said that this man basically came in here and fit in like he's been on the team for years.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of free agents come to systems in the years I've been here, and sometimes it takes a little while for guys to get comfortable with their surroundings, with their teammates. Drew, it's like he stepped right in and he'd been here for 3 years in terms of communicating with his teammates, what he did off of the field, how much of a pro he is. He's had a great influence on not just the linebacker room, but the defense in general. He's playing a couple of different positions right now. Before it's all said and done, he'll probably play all 3 linebacker spots.
So very high praise for Drew Tranquill, which only adds to my excitement about the impact he's going to have in the linebacker room this season. And with all that being said, what are your thoughts on today's updates from camp? Are you now officially concerned about Toney's knee? What about Chris Jones reportedly wanting $30 million a year? Would you pay it? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?